commercials or breaks.
Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Chronicles Medium Rare Edition. I am Ron Kolick, right here in New England. With me, my co-host, Medium Rare herself, Leslie Martin.
Hello, everybody. How is
So
everyone on this fine Wednesday?
so you recovered from last night's seance?
Oh, I did.
Interesting, very interesting. I hope An Cow enjoyed it too.
Yes.
Anyways, that was one of the spirits that came through, and a Chinese woman by the name of An Kao. So there you go. Anyways, tonight we have a guest, and she is someone I've known for a while. She is a paranormal investigator, a sensitive, and an author, Lynn Nickerson. If I said that name right, probably not.
Yes, it's perfect. Hello, everybody.
That was a
Hi.
mistake.
Welcome, Lynn. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Um, so well, how did you ever get involved in the paranormal to start with? That's a good way to start.
Oh, I started noticing things when I was 6 years old. And then by the time I was 10, I started seeing UFOs, and that happened to be 1961. And it was the summer I had two little events before Betty and Barney Hill had their big event.
Ooh.
So things just kept roller coastering from there. And I paid attention because it was just a variety of strange things that would happen to me.
So what kind of event did you have back in 1961 that
Well, I woke up. I found myself at the window beside my bed, staring out into the sky, and there was a squadron of red UFOs, and it was like looking at a static picture. The odd thing is, it was in East Kingston, New Hampshire, which used to be part of Kingston, where Betty comes from anyway.
Mhm.
And at that time, from let me see, 1956 to 65, Pease Air Force Base was a strategic air command, and we were about 10 air miles from the base. So it stands to reason that they were flying over our property. And that was about July. And then in August, I woke up in the middle of the night. Mind you, I'm 10 years old. And there is this green phosphorescent ET suspended in the doorway of my bedroom. And it looks like he has a pressure suit on. And I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And it was like he just calmed me down and made me go back to sleep. And I always thought that was a dream. Only until I was like in my 40s did I start putting a lot of things together, realizing I did some research. In the 1930s, there was such a thing as a pressure suit that looked just like that. And I called him the Michelin Man because he looked like the Michelin tire icon.
Hmm.
And for about 40 years, I kept looking for other Michelin Man sightings. Couldn't find a thing. But when I started working on my book in 2017, the first one, I found 6 more accounts of people having sighted the Michelin Man. So it was real, it wasn't a dream. But that's how things got rolling.
Okay, so you mentioned your book. What books do you have out?
Okay, well, the first one I just called it generically Gateway to the Paranormal, True and Personal Accounts of the Unexplained. And then I decided I had a whole lot more stories to tell, so I wanted to make it into a series. So the second one now is Mysterious Realms and Odd Encounters,
Ooh.
exploring ghosts, the supernatural, and the unknown.
And where are these available, Lynn?
They're all on Amazon right now. Locally, I hope to have Barnes& and Noble carrying them. In the process of working up an author page. So I'd like to get some local representation too, but pretty much Amazon.
Oh, that's good. But yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
most
they're
people,
accessible.
yeah, Amazon. Everybody loves Amazon, right, Leslie?
Yeah,
I sure do.
yeah, it's a good thing.
Mhm. Yeah, you can get what you want. Remember, it used to be
Yeah,
at Alice's restaurant, but not anymore. It's at Amazon.
yeah, yeah, so true.
But you, that's how you started, and then how did you get into the ghosty end of it? I mean, that's the ET section, but
Okay. Well, in East Kingston, a lot of strange things did happen at that house. It was property that had been owned by a very large family by the name of Webster for centuries, and part of it had been sold off, well, it had been bought by our neighbor who built our house, and it was bordered by a brook. And it was called the Great Brook, it still is. And there had been a grist mill there, and I believe it was to grind corn and not wheat, but basically corn. Well, when I was about 12, I commandeered the building of a bridge and we took all the remnants from the grist mill and we built a bridge to get to the other side of the brook. Up until that point, I never felt anything strange, but there was a spot beside the built-up road which connected the grist mill to each side of the brook.
mhm.
There was something always ominous and scary as hell that I would pick up on at sunset. And during the day, it didn't bother me, and I'd investigate it, and there was nothing there except a really large indentation in the ground. But we had built a hut out there, and I'd go out in the summertime, I'd read, and I'd come back about supper time, and I would have to run by this spot. So I started getting the feeling that a man a man was hung there. And a couple of summers went by, and then I realized it wasn't that a man was hung, that there was a buckboard accident. A man had driven over onto the grist mill, picked up his grain, and went over to the other side. But in doing so, his horse got spooked somehow. Um, the horse spooked, flipped the buckboard and the man. They landed on the right-hand side of this, and he broke his neck and the horse broke a leg.
Yeah.
And I've had this verified, but I had all of these mental visions of what was going on because I kept thinking, why would they bury a horse in the woods? My 10 and 12-year-old mind is thinking this. And then I got to thinking, who the hell's gonna haul a horse out of the woods to bury it somewhere else? So that indentation in the ground was the horse, having decayed for about a century and a half. So me, Willie Hassel, of Spirit Chasers Paranormal fame and
Mhm.
so forth, and Val LaFazzo, who's got a wonderful series of books out, Tangled Web of Friends, the three of us went to the site. I got permission from the present owner to do this one investigation because he ate at me for years as to what the heck was going on at that old mill site. So during the investigation, Val points to that exact spot where the horse is buried, or where I felt the horse was buried, and she said, "There's a soul collector there." And so she was explaining to me what she meant by that
Yeah, I'd
and
like
what
to know what she meant by that too.
well, some sort of elemental or negative entity that never incorporated. It's just purely energetic. but it's negative, and it likes to, well, it's like a bloodsucker, only it loves to live off the trauma, the pain and suffering of people, and you often get them hanging around where there's been tragedy. So that's the little monster that I was picking up on. So she had divining rods. I had a K2 meter, and we had our recorders on. So there was a man that we picked up downstream who would not come up upstream to where this little monster was. And Val got the name Daniel, so we started asking him questions. Apparently, he worked at the grist mill. He had gotten brain cancer while he was working there and he died, but he wanted to help us communicate to find out what happened. So I asked him, was there a buckboard accident? We got a yes. Did a man lose his life? Yes. Did he break his neck? Yes. Then I said, was he a farmer? Yes. And was he picking up grain? And he was. Then I said, I'm getting the year 1823 really strongly. And I said, was that the year he died? And the answer was yes. Didn't get the name on the guy. Then I asked, what about the horse? Did the horse break its leg? And he said yes. And I said, did they shoot the horse? They did. And they buried him there.
Oh wow. So
Yeah,
you were
that
right on,
all
right on,
came,
right on it.
it all came up. One other odd piece of information from this, Val said to me, pointing to a southern field, she said, was there some kind of cattle mutilation over there or something? And oddly enough, when we were growing up, there had been, quote, a lightning storm. 6 animals had died. We never got to see them, but my parents talked about it in whispers. Well, the story was that the lightning struck their identification metal tags on their necks.
Hmm.
I think it might have been a mutilation. I really think it might have been a cattle mutilation. And there were 6 of them. And they took a bulldozer and they plowed them all under. So that's kind of still, hanging in the wings. I haven't got real verification on what that was, but it's kind of curious. So
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the investigation, I went to the town hall in East Kingston and I was denied looking at the old records from 1823
How
because
come?
they were too fragile, I was told. That really irritated me. I would have taken the utmost care. So my next go-to place was the library, and some woman had painstakingly written down all of the names on the tombstones that were in the old East Kingston cemetery. The dates, the births, the sayings on the tombstones. In the year 1823, 2 men died. I should say 2 male people. One was a 12-year-old boy. The other one was I think he was 49, 47 to 49. His last name was Weber, Jeremiah Weber.
Hmm.
Webster, I'm sorry, Webster, the people that owned the land. I don't know if the gristmill belonged to them, but it had been their land. It could have been a situation where the gristmill was like they rented the land to build up the gristmill. So
Right.
I think it was a Webster that died. It uh was September 5th, I believe, was the day he died, which is perfect for harvesting corn and maybe letting it dry and then getting it ground down. I mean, it all fit.
Hmm.
So that's what it was. The horse died, he died, and apparently it was a real tragedy. There were people there at the grist mill that died.
Wow.
So I can see why that thing hung around all the time. That's what I was picking up as a child.
Wow, that's a good piece of detective work. I'll tell you that much. Don't you think so, Liz?
Yeah, I love that
Forever.
you went and you researched it. Is there any other
Yeah, it took
research
a
about
long time.
is there any
I
other research about Jeremiah Webster?
No, see, I just don't have access to that stuff. I did look up to see if there was somebody by that name related to Daniel because the people who owned the land were indirectly related to Daniel Webster. Supposedly, Daniel Webster owned that farmhouse but didn't live there. But the the genealogy of the Websters is so very complicated.
I was going to say you could go on Ancestry and find out quite a bit from there.
You can, but when they keep naming their children the same names,
Ah, that's true. That's true. I
it's
forgot about
so
that. Yeah.
hard.
Yeah,
You
that's
have
right.
to watch the birth and the death dates and where they lived and what they owned, and it's very complex. So I found out about as much as I could. I didn't take it any farther than that. I spent quite a bit of time on researching that.
Yeah, it
So
seems that.
I kind of let it go after that, and I put that was in the first book,
Oh
Gateway to
wow, that's a
Paranormal.
good story though. I mean, it's
Oh,
definitely.
thanks.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, is
Yeah,
especially able to verify the information you got. Now, when you actually sense these things, how do you sense? I mean, like Leslie sometimes will sense the pain of a person, right, Les? The symptoms and so forth.
Yeah, usually the symptoms come first and then other information follows.
that's interesting. Valafazzo does the same thing. If they died of a head injury, she gets pain in her head, or stomach cancer, she gets pains in her stomach. I don't pick that up, but what usually happens is I get mental images. It's like watching a movie, and I
Mm.
get an idea of what went on. I didn't feel all his pain, but when I was walking along the path by that
You're lucky.
spot where the monster was, um, I always sensed neck trauma to a man. So I didn't feel his pain, but I knew that he went through something horrible involved with his neck. And as I got a little bit older, the picture just unfolded mentally.
Hmm.
Yes, because you said when you were younger, you thought that he had died by hanging, and that would coincide with that neck
Right.
injury.
So I was getting that sensation, but I didn't know how to interpret it until I got a
Yes.
little bit older, and then it all made sense. And I had actually saw the buckboard going over the brook because the grist mill was built on the brook and they had shored up the land so that you could drive straight through from one side to the other. So it could have been that a handler mishandled the horse, or I have another friend who's psychic who lives in Arizona, and he said, I think alcohol was involved. And he thinks that, corn
Seems like
whiskey
it
or
always
whatever.
is. Yeah, seems like alcohol is always
Exactly.
involved in everything.
And that there was an element of abuse of the horse.
Mm,
That's what he thinks happened. I don't know. I don't have all of the pieces,
mhm,
but it did paint a pretty full picture, really.
mm. That's and so you got that information. So did you hone your senses? I mean, it eventually it must have you must have developed it. It didn't like happen all at once, right? Did you have stronger and stronger senses and so forth?
I did, and they got sort of, they broadened out, and I started getting different stuff coming in. I was always interested in ghosts. See, where did I go from there?
Yeah. Did I mean what?
Dreams.
One thing I want to go back 1 second. It's just the one
Sure.
thing you mentioned, elemental. So some people think, what the hell is an elemental? So I'll ask you that question. What is the hell is an elemental?
Okay, so everybody kind of has their own interpretation of things. I do believe that there are creatures that sometimes take the appearance of humans, but they can appear any way they want to. There are fairies, and there are those other frequencies that can be considered entities that never incorporated that can be very negative. There's nothing good about them. And what they do is they live off of the negativity. They hang around it, and that's what makes them happy. And usually they're not very good. I mean, you get elementals living in castles where people were tortured in those chambers, in prisons. So
Mm.
there's more there. There's negative energy hanging around because of all the trauma that transpired.
I always thought that elementals were both not necessarily evil, but were good elementals. That they were just another species.
Yeah, you're right, Ron. There are some that supposedly are kind of neutral, which I don't know much about.
Mhm,
I just know about the bad boys.
mhm.
Mhm.
Leslie, you ever run into elementals?
I ran into something in one of my sister's houses that she owned, and I couldn't tell you what it was because it wasn't human,
Hmm.
but and it was very, very negative and very scary. So not knowing what one is, you can't go up and say, "Hey, that's an elemental,"
What do you?
it's,
Yeah. Well, you could have
right?
asked
It's
them.
it's just what you experience.
You could have just asked them,
That in my head would have been an elemental. Um,
Yeah, and
but
I agree with you too, Leslie. What was going on in that house where you sensed it? What
oh
had
gosh, there was
happened?
all sorts of stuff going on in that house. It's actually in my first book, my only book.
Oh,
Um,
medium
so
rare?
yes,
Yep.
there was a man who he like owned the house, but then there was this dark. It would just envelop the whole environment of the house, and then it would lift and it would go away. My sister and I were packing up pots and pans. She was moving to a new home, and it happened, and it just kind of whoa. I was like, "Oh my God, Joanne." She's like, "It'll leave. It'll leave. Just hold on a second. It'll go." And it was the scariest thing, the scariest thing. And my sister is not, a psychic, or she's not a medium, but she could feel it too. It was so oppressive, and there was
Wow.
no mistaking that it was with you there. But thank goodness it did go, because
Well,
it was not pleasant.
let
Hmm.
me ask you, could you see it? Could you see like a black fog?
I just saw, honestly, I just saw
You just
black.
felt it?
In my mind, I just saw black.
So how is different than us
Yes.
from a shadow person?
Oh, well, I would think more or less the shadow person is the elemental. But like at the James house, I have not seen the black fog with my eyes, but I've taken several photos. Black fogs have been in almost every room in the photograph, in every room in the James house.
Uh,
And then on top of that, we did get a black shadow person. It looks like a black cookie monster
mm.
in the basement. There's there's a lot that went on in the basement. Again, just negativity.
So you mentioned the James House, and a lot of our listeners don't know what the James
Yeah,
House is. So could you tell us a
sure.
little bit about the James House?
So the James House is really considered a living museum. It was built in 1723, and the James family, 7 generations consecutively lived there of the James family. And finally, in I guess it was the 1930s, they could no longer take care of the house. Everybody was dying and sickly, so they sold the property to the Campbells. So following that, there were just 2 more generations of this Campbell family that lived there. And then it was abandoned for quite a while. So there's now an association who I'm on the board of directors. We are trying so hard to keep it standing. So we perform fundraisers and we put on investigations, and we charge money for them to raise funds for the house, and every penny goes to the house. And we've got membership drives and stuff like that because there still are James family members remaining. But anyway, it's in Hampton, New Hampshire on Toll Farm Road. And it really looks a whole lot better than it did when we started working on it about, 11 and 12 years ago.
Oh, excellent. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I actually was lucky enough to do an investigation there with Steve Parsons. So yeah, that was
oh, did
it's
you come? Oh,
yes,
good.
yeah.
What did you think, Ron?
Oh, it's pretty cool. But if somebody is interested in doing something there, where can they find out information about the James House?
Actually, on Facebook is a really good source. There is a James House Association Facebook page.
Hmm.
There is Willie Hassel's page. He carries the same thing. There's also the Spirit Chasers page, and there's my page. We just share all of the same information on the James House.
Okay, and your page is what, Lynn?
Yeah, Facebook page, just my name, and I think it's Lynn.Nickerson.3, but you'll
Uh,
find it using Lynn Nickerson.
spells Nicholson for listeners, please.
Nickerson.
Thank you. Thank
Lynne. Don't forget the E.
you. Yeah, and so I mean, you certainly have done a lot of interesting things, and The James house, I like I said, I had an opportunity to do an investigation there with Steve Parsons one year, and that was intriguing in itself. Now, there's a lot of work to be done with because there's no electricity there, correct?
I'm sorry, there's a lot of work to be done. What?
And there's no electricity there, correct?
Oh, no, there's no electricity. However, we do have access to a phone pole that we can plug into it if we need to, but there's no light to the house, generally speaking.
Hmm. Is there plans at all to electrify it?
No, it was once, but
Hmm.
no, it would cost too much money.
Okay,
And
no, I
we only
understand.
do it when we absolutely need, like sometimes a heater or two in the house, because in the winter it is frigid in there.
Oh,
Oh,
hell yes.
yeah.
I love the
Um,
idea that you're not going to electrify it because it keeps the integrity of the homestead.
yeah,
Mm,
and L-Chip has a lot to say about that too. You know, it's got to be approved historically speaking, and we now do have an L-Chip plaque on the side of the house because they have helped us fund several different projects, like putting some pillars so that the floor doesn't collapse,
That's
that's
that
a good
sort of
helpful.
idea.
thing. Yeah, yeah. Money well spent.
Now, is the last time I was there, the inside of the house was pretty rough itself, and that there was no finished walls or anything. Is that changed at all?
No, it was actually Skip's idea originally. I mean, he was president for 20 years. I don't know how he managed that, but anyway, he wanted the house to remain as it is because it shows three different periods of occupation and architectural style.
Ah,
So
okay.
he didn't want anything done to the interior of it. But we did have to make it, closed off to the elements, and we're still
Mm,
working on that a little bit. But we've painted it and we've put on new shake shingles on the roof. So it's pretty much closed to the elements, except for shoring up the basement. That still needs a lot of work.
hmm.
But
Yeah,
we just don't want to renovate it because I don't think L Chip would go for it anyway. They wouldn't
yeah,
approve, lending funds.
yeah, no problem. I was just curious about it because a lot of people are thinking and asking things.
Well,
I
yeah,
try
it's
to,
real presentable.
yeah. But anyways, we have to take a break right now. You're
Sure.
listening to Ghost Chronicles Medium Rare Edition right here on TogiNet Radio, and where all podcasts are being played. I am Ron Kolick, your host. My co-host is Leslie Martin, and our special guest is Lynn Nickerson. And we're brought to you by Circles of Wisdom, 386 Merrimack Street, Methuen, Massachusetts. The Gannett Messier Family Law Group, 55 High Street, North Andover, Massachusetts. Our very good friends on Ghost Chronicles Radio on Patreon. Become a member for $3 a month and get access to some bunch of tons of exclusive videos and stuff like that. So check that out. We're also brought to you by, oh, here we go, Positively Brilliant Candles, Reiki infused candle on, and I never say it right,
Etsy.
Etsy.
Get so close.
It's whatever.
Etsy.
Yeah, that do it. Positively Brilliant. Check it out. So I know the co-owner, and she does a real good job. We'll be right back in the following messages.
Do you have a paranormal event, book, or something else you want people to know about? Then why not advertise it on Ghost Chronicles Radio? With over 150,000 downloads a month, get your message out to an audience that's interested in the subject. We have a plan at a cost that fits your needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolick at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
Located in Illinois, there lies a sleepy little town where nothing is a common occurrence.
You going to that party in town tonight?
Heck yeah! I only turned 18 once.
That is until the night of celebration.
Where the hell is she? Oh no. No, 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 Jessica!
happening?
From the creators of Shadowhunters, Bite Me, comes a tale of primal terror and grindcore mayhem. Shadowhunters, kill, Jessica, kill!
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the Shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
And welcome back. You are listening to Ghost Chronicles, the medium rare edition with your host, Ron Kolek, and me, Leslie Martin. Tonight we're listening and being excited by Lynn Nickerson with her great stories.
Thank you so much.
Ron, are you still there? I think Ron went away. So before the break, you were talking about the James House and the funding that you need to do all of these, renovations. How do you get these funds?
Well, there are several venues. We do get some money from the Hampton Casino. They're about, I think it's 12 days a year where we get a percentage of the take from the
Oh, that's
casino.
excellent.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
that is a good source. Another one, we've got some stock. We invested stock a while ago. Um, those are the two big money makers, and then the third one is the paranormal. I mean, one year we made 5,000 in the paranormal alone, and that's really due to Willie's
Mhm.
Hassel's efforts. He puts in a lot of effort to the advertising, and he comes up with a lot of ideas for the events. So
So
that's
if you're
pretty
in,
much. Hmm?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step over you. So if you're in the New Hampshire area, you put on fundraising events for the James House?
Yeah, it's usually the James House, for instance. Shari Di Benedetti, she was on Ghost on Taps for a while with Jason Hawes.
Mhm.
And she's I don't think she's affiliated with a TV show right now, but she does a lot of independent filming herself. So she's been to the James House 3 times now. She was there this past Friday night and led an investigation. Again, it was for a fundraiser, and it wasn't a real active night, but there were some strange things that showed up. But there wasn't a lot of activity. But we try to get some you know, some names in there. We're getting um Cody and
Oh,
Satori
are they?
Haas. She's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We know them well. Yeah.
and they're coming Sunday the 10th actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're going to do again an investigation. Well, the investigation they're also going to film and do some interviewing of me and Willie. And who else? Um we sometimes hold seances,
Mhm.
or there's Christopher Brown. He's an incredible medium. He holds little galleries, kind of like a oh, I forgot John. Oh well, from like the 90s.
Oh yeah, John Edwards.
Right, John Edwards. It's very much that style, that format.
Hmm.
He just takes a deep breath. He tries to cleanse himself and whatnot, and he picks up on almost everyone in the audience.
Oh
He's
wow.
unbelievable. He does a
Hmm.
really good job. So those are always sellouts.
Yeah, I know that Willie even tried a UFO watch one night. I remember seeing that on his
Not
page.
much luck with that, but I think it was just a case of organization. We're going to try
Yeah.
it again.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's hard to predict when UFOs are going to be flying by.
Exactly. They don't always check in with us.
No, that if they would, that would be nice, but yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
always happen, unfortunately. So, what are some of the strangest things that happened at the James house that you can been aware of?
Oh, okay. Apparently, the first paranormal event on record happened shortly before Willie and I came on board. So it might have been around 2010, 2008.
Hmm.
Um, well, Skip was president of the board, and there was Bob Dennett, who's an accountant. He was also on the board of directors. So that winter, they had hired some contractors to come in and replace some beams that had been damaged by fire long ago in the past, but they needed replacing. So for 2 weeks, well, they were working the month of December. When the holidays came, everybody took 2 weeks off, and they returned 2 weeks later, shortly after New Year's Day. Well, when Bob Dennett came in with the contractors, mind you, there's snow on the ground and it doesn't get plowed. I think they probably plowed when they returned. They went upstairs to the second floor, and on the floor toward the back is by the set of stairs that goes up to the attic. There was this old-fashioned psalter that was lying on the floor, dated to 1708, I believe. I've got it in my notes, but not in front of me. It's been dated by the Hampton Historical Society. And what a psalter is it's psalms that the pilgrims and the Puritans had used. And by the 1700s, they started setting the psalms to music. So the book is actually, that one is printed. It was done on a printing press, but it's all bound together with leather.
Oh
And
wow.
the pages are very rough. Well, no one knows where the darn psalter came from. So it had been wrapped in cloth and apparently tucked in the planum between the attic floor and the ceiling of the second floor. And part of that had been opened up, but it wasn't visible to the naked eye. And no mouse could have pushed that out of there because it was just too heavy. Had it been something like a woodchuck, maybe, but there wasn't one in the house, and it was the dead of winter. Um, so that was quite a find, and it's quite valuable. So right now, they went on record as being the first paranormal poltergeist activity in the building. They
Hmm.
had to admit that something strange went on there because no one went to that house during that 2 week period.
And yet it was there.
That was really neat. But another thing is the black shadows we photograph all the time. And something else that I think, I believe that when you go into and investigate a place like this that is so old, there's been 2.5 centuries of people living there. They die, they love, they get hurt, they get sick. I think there are layers of time of things that transpire. So one of the really odd things, not scary so much, but really interesting, Willie and I were on an investigation, and there were about three of us. Jim had gone to get coffee. Willie and I were upstairs in the attic talking softly about orbs. We had a recorder up there. We had a recorder down in the trunk room on the second floor. So on playback, we get this woman. She sounds Scandinavian. And what she's saying is, "Oh my gut, I see orbs flying all around me. Are you Willie?"
Oh
Oh my
So
really?
goodness.
Yes, she says his name. She really liked Willie. I think she was attracted to Willie. So the recording upstairs was quite loud. The one downstairs in the trunk room picked it up, but it was softer. So she was upstairs with us while we were talking amongst ourselves about orbs. And you can tell that it's not me because I start talking softly as soon as she shuts up. And in the background, I could hear Willie can't because of hard rock music, he's losing his hearing. But I heard about 3 notes of an upright piano, and nobody else could hear it. And I thought
Hmm.
someone must have owned a piano at the James house. So I'm thinking this woman was there early 1800s, maybe late 1700s, because what they would do is convalesce the children in the attic or sick people in the attic. It was the warmest place in the house. But also, too, I think the kids went up there to play in the winter. So I think she came probably from the, I don't know, early 1800s, maybe late 1700s. The piano, here's the story on the piano. I went and interviewed Bill Bowley. He lived across the street as a young boy in the 30s and 40s.
Hmm.
And once the Campbells had moved in the 30s, Bill had visited that house a few times as like a 10-year-old. Well, Mrs. Campbell, the last Campbell, I believe it was Bernice, she died. Her husband passed away. That day, she asked Bill's mother if he and the brother could stay with her because she didn't want to be alone. He didn't like the place at all, and he had his own experience upstairs. But regarding the piano, she invited them in about 7 o'clock. She served them hot cocoa. Then she invited them into the parlor room and played the piano and sang.
Oh, wow.
So there's your
She
piano.
had the, yes, she had the upright piano. She was the one playing. I
Huh.
just think that's amazing. So she was totally from the 20th century.
Yeah,
That's
I guess she is. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah, from
interesting.
like the 1930s or 40s. And then
Hmm.
we've got that Scandinavian woman who was probably from the 19th to 18th century. That I find very fascinating.
I do too. I mean, you've had a ton of stories that you mentioned, but your book covers a lot of things, including cryptoids. What is your experience with cryptoids?
Oh, okay. I've really only had one.
Okay.
And I can't even say for sure it's what it was. Excuse me just a second. Hmm.
Yeah, your
This
voice is
happened.
getting a little tired, even worried.
Yeah, I was exposed to black mold.
oh no.
So, yeah, about 20 years ago. So that's why my voice fades away.
Mhm.
In 1974, I used to think that again it's Bigfoot, not really interesting because it's such a common name now, but Bigfoot was thought to live either in the Northwest or maybe somewhere out in the Himalayas, but people just didn't think that Bigfoot lived in the woods of Maine or New Hampshire. We know better now. But in 1974, I was dating this guy that I almost married, and we'd go to this place on the Lamprey River in Newfields, New Hampshire. So it was actually a swimming hole, and people would come swimming in the middle of the night on a warm summer night. It was really neat. But this one late spring, we had just arrived there. And we were sitting in the car. The radio was on, but the engine wasn't on. And we were sitting there talking, listening to the music, and stuffing ourselves with cookies and maybe a little beer. So I got out of the car, I opened the door, and I brushed off the cookies from my pants and whatnot. And all of a sudden, I had this horrible feeling. It was like there was 100 mass murderers in the woods. That
Oh,
was the feeling I got. It was petrifying. I'd never sensed anything like that before. I got back in the car quietly and I said to Steve, I didn't know how he was going to take it, but I knew I had to convince him. I said, "We've got to get out of here. We've got to leave now." He was very quiet. He's a Libra Scorpio, and he turned to me and he said, "I know, I feel it too."
Oh wow.
We, I know. We put that car in gear, and if we could have laid rubber on a pine needle floor, we would have done it. We got out of there as fast as we could. It was like all logging roads to get there. But just after talking to Dave McCullough, he's a member of Nufro, the Bigfoot organization out of Massachusetts. One of the typical things that Bigfoot is known to do is to use infrasound to scare away, either to stun their prey or to scare humans. And what it does, it'll be very fearful or nauseous. That's what happened to us. It was late May. I think they were coming down from the north or up from the south, but I think Bigfoot was migrating to this water hole. And I think they wanted us out and they wanted possession of it. And I think they used infrasound on us.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
That's only after having Dave on and realizing, looking back, that had to have been what happened to us. And he and I never discussed that again. It freaked us out so much.
Mhm. I would imagine. I mean, that's yeah. If you
It's
cause you
it's one
to
of those stories.
yeah. So, Lynn, if I remember, didn't you and Willie do a video piece on the James House? Is that still available?
It is. He's got a shorter version posted. He was hoping to sell them to
Hmm.
make money for the James House.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's on our YouTube channel. And if you, it's hard to remember, but if you do Spirit Chasers, Paranormal, Hassle, it'll come up.
Okay.
It's got all of our work on there since we started recording stuff, and the James House video is on there.
Excellent. Yeah. So if people want to see the James House and see Willie and Lynn, and I assume that there's
There's We go over
good.
the history and then we go over many of the things that have happened in the house, particularly to us, but things that we knew transpired. And the other thing is, Ron, too, while we're on that, we did a couple of documentaries for America's Stonehenge, and one of them is titled "Is America's Stonehenge Haunted?" And
Oh.
that too is on. And given that, they did have some human sacrifice there and there were a lot of things that went on, that there's a lot of energy there still.
Hmm.
And they even had the Holzer files filming there.
Hmm.
And that must have been about 3 summers ago now. But one of them, it was their local psychic, and I can't remember her name, but she was on the show too. She saw a black shadow person there at
Hmm.
America's Stonehenge. It was a really interesting episode that they filmed. And we talk about a lot of the stuff that we experienced in in the nature of hauntings up there at the America's Stonehenge.
Do you know that that was the one of the first investigations I ever did over 20 years ago, uh,
Seriously?
and we did that with oh, what was the name of that TV show? ATT3 on yeah, and we did that, and we stayed overnight, and it was yeah, like I said, that was one of our first investigations we ever did. We
Stayed
did
overnight?
yeah, we stayed overnight, and in fact, it was one of the episodes that was shown on WNDS TV. So that was over 20
Hmm.
years ago, before the Ghost Hunters were on, before any other
Oh
reality
my gosh.
paranormal show was on.
Did you
Did you
stay
get
in one of those
evidence?
caves?
What's that?
I asked,
Um,
did you stay in one of the caves? And Lynn asks if you get any
oh,
evidence.
Yeah,
yeah.
we did. Of
Do you
course,
have
we
any
did.
tapes?
I not sure what's ever taped. There's actually a copy of the film around somewhere. I know I gave one, which would probably be on VHS. I gave to Dennis Stone, so uh,
Oh,
he
yeah.
might still have it. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was a long yeah, quite a years ago, and yeah, it was an interesting thing. I was working with um, people that you don't know. One of them has passed away, and um, the other one was Brian the monk. He was a Franciscan monk. Uh,
Oh,
so yeah, and it was intriguing, very intriguing show, and it was like I said, one of my first, very first. So it was exciting, of course. But
did you get any EVPs or see anything,
well,
Ron?
EVPs weren't a thing back then.
No?
No, no. I mean, we're talking early, early, early. We recorded, temperature drops. For instance, we were in the
Oh,
chamber,
yeah.
the chamber where the what do you call that? The calling
Yeah, the
tube that
Oracle
goes.
chamber.
Yeah,
Oracle.
yeah, we were in there, and once again, we were with the film crew, so they had the big lights and everything else. And as we were in there talking and explaining what was going on, the temperature was actually dropping, even though we brought in all these people and the lights from the cameras and everything else, and the temperature was actually we could saw it on the camera, which was intrigued. There was one of the TV crew saw. Red eyes in the woods peering at him and following him actually until
Oh my
they get to the thing.
gosh.
We stayed on uh, the astronomy site, the little platform there. That was our base, so we
Yes.
stayed out of there and worked out of there most of the night. But yeah, it was intriguing. We went out all during the night to different places. Uh, Took different trails out into an area called the cold spot, which is supposed to be cold all times, whether it's day, night, summer, or winter. It's always gonna.
Bingo.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff. Like I said, my first investigation, our equipment was very rudimentary at that time. But
Mhm.
I did work with Brian the monk, which was intriguing because he was doing infrared photography at the time. I think he got some cool pictures. I can't.
Um,
Um, I know we
they're
got.
like, oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, just there were shelves in there, and when I walked in, I got the feeling blood and bones.
Mm,
And sure enough, they would collect blood, and they had bones in there that they considered it all sacred, and then also disarticulate in the oracle chamber, from
yeah.
what people have picked up. But I
Yeah.
picked that up on my own.
Yeah, it's a
A lot
I've
of
been
energy.
I did a yeah, I've done a couple of I did a Next Generation. Ann and I went there and did a show out of there. Maureen and I went there another time and did a show when we were on WCCM, and
Oh,
we had one of the Indians follow us in the car, which was fun.
really?
Yep, and we had my EMF meter went off as we were driving and stuff like this. It was interesting. I believe that one is in our first book, Ghost Chronicles. That particular story, the one about the hitchhiker. But
Well, I'll have to check that out again
yeah, it was.
because when we were there, um, Mary, who was the medium that we asked to come along,
Mhm.
she picked up on an Indian chief, and we got a lot of information from him. And he kept saying they had nothing to do with the rituals that went on there. They just they went to out of gratitude. It was like the berry festival, and they different Native American nations would gather there together to trade and to celebrate
Oh,
the, the spring. But he
yeah.
said none of the stuff, the darker stuff, had anything to do with the Native Americans.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I remember when I interviewed Dawn, who used to work there a long time ago. This is like 20 years ago. Uh, and she was just a young girl at that time. I'm sure she's a woman now, but she told me one of the stories about these two little old ladies that came in and took the tour and visited the thing, and then went away. And the next day they came back and they brought a rock and they threw it on the counter. He says, "Here, please take this back." And so what had happened? She said. We took this rock home. We brought it home, and the next night at nighttime, we saw a 10-foot Indian in our living room. So they brought the rock back. They lived far away. They didn't even live close, but they lived far away.
That's
And,
enough to make you bring a rock back.
yeah, you think
Oh,
so?
yeah, that is insane. Well,
Yeah,
that's a great story.
yeah. That was one of the original ones. In fact, I think that was in the TV show that we did. Uh, but yeah, it's an interesting. I've known Dennis like for years and years and years. He's been on the show several
Yeah,
times,
God love
and
him. He's doing a really good job there too. They've had done so much groundwork and opened up the lines of sight on
mhm,
all the stones, and they've done ground penetrating radar
yep.
looking for stuff. And have you investigated there, Leslie, or
Um,
visited?
Funny thing, today in my Facebook memories, pictures popped up of my husband and I crawling around America's Stonehenge today. So it's our anniversary of visiting America's Stonehenge. There's a lot of energy there, lots and
There's a lot of
lots.
energy. Yep.
I went with Professor McLeod from the University of Lowell, and he was studying one of the chambers there. But this running out of time. But I went with him like early in the morning in February uh, to this chamber because he believed that if you sat in this chamber at this, I think it was the solstice or something, I don't know, whatever it was, particular astronomical thing, that you could actually see other planets and stuff inside the chamber, like being projected on the wall.
Ooh.
So
Oh my.
we went and did that early in the freaking morning in the ice cold with him, but unfortunately, there was a lot of
Wasn't the
cloud
right.
cover. A lot of cloud
Oh,
cover, so
that's too
we had
bad.
internet problems. Anyways, that's the end of the show because I just heard the
Oh.
bell for the pizza from the dead's here, so we got to go. Len, we want to thank you so much. It was very interesting. You certainly experienced a lot in your life so far. There's no doubt about it.
Oh,
And
thank you.
so, if
We
people want to find
do,
out
both
more,
of you.
people want to find out more about Len Nickerson, where can they do that?
Okay, let me see. Well, definitely you can follow me on the Facebook page. I'm just getting the author page wrapped up, and I'm going to be posting that in the next couple of days to Amazon. So there'll be a little bit of a bio there, and hopefully Barnes and Noble will carry the books,
Hmm.
and maybe one other venue. We'll see.
Excellent.
So that's about it.
And you
Check Willie's page, mine.
and you do talks and stuff as well.
I do, and we've got a few things. Oh, let me just mention, yes, October 4, Lane Hampton Library, Lane Memorial
Hmm.
Library in Hampton. It's called Celebration of Spirits, and we're going to have several great speakers. We were going to get Dylan Jones and Brigitte, but they can't make it now. They did have to cancel.
Yep.
But I'm going to be speaking, and I don't have a list of a lineup, but
Okay.
that's one of the next things we've got coming.
All right, we got to go now. So
All right.
thanks a lot, Len. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Leslie. Good night, everyone. God bless and stay safe.
Bye
Thank you. Bye
bye.
bye.
From goalies to ghosties, long leggedy beasties, and things that go bump.